The possibility of Daniel Theis returning to the Boston Celtics may seem like a simple and logical move at first glance, but let's be honest. There's something deeply wrong with this story. Theis' trade is not only unnecessary, it's a decision that could represent a step backward for a franchise that is desperately trying to find its way to the title. And that's where the big question arises. Is focusing on Theis a sign of a franchise with no vision for the future? First point, the Celtics are settling into a past that no longer has a place in the future. Theis was good, yes, but let's take a deeper look at his contribution in recent years. The reality is that his performance in New Orleans is underwhelming. He's average, with no major performance spikes, and no longer provides the impact the Celtics need. And let's be frank here. The Celtics are at a point where they can no longer afford to keep an okay player coming off the bench. The team's center rotation is already overcrowded with inexperienced players who make little impact. Bringing Theis back can therefore be seen as a desperate attempt to revive something that no longer matters. Does Boston deserve this? Wouldn't it make more sense to look for something more innovative, bolder, that could take the team to a new level? Now imagine that Theis is the choice of a front office afraid to take risks. When we look at the Celtics and their current needs, we can't help but question whether this attempt to bring back a name from the past is the right choice. The team already has Luke Cornett and Neemias Queta, players who provide rebounds and defense, but without that big flair. Instead of betting on something daring, like a trade for a center with a more explosive playing style, or even a younger, promising player, the Celtics settle for seeking a solution that has already been tested, and in the end, hasn't yielded great results. The truth here is that bringing Theis back might be seen as a crutch for a team that should be looking for pieces to solidify itself as a champion, not to fill a gap that, deep down, didn't exist until they created it themselves. But what if the Celtics' real problem isn't the front court? What if the problem lies in the team's mentality? Daniel Theis might be a temporary solution for the bench, but is that really what the Celtics need? Isn't it time to think about a change in mentality and bolder choices that could truly elevate the team's level? Maybe the Celtics are stuck in a fix-it mentality, when, in reality, what they need is not just another okay player coming off the bench, but a real shift in approach. While teams like the Bucks and the Nuggets are making giant leaps with their strategic choices, Boston seems to still be trying to patch together pieces of a team from the past. What the Celtics really need is the boldness to think about the future, not cling to short-term solutions that will only delay the inevitable. And then the big question arises, is the Celtics so focused on winning now that they are ignoring long-term strategic errors? This will not transform the Celtics into champions, that's a fact. The team needs something more explosive, more impactful. The problem is that, instead of trying for a real restructuring, Boston might be betting its chips on an apparently safe trade, but one that will only delay the team's evolution process. Theis is a good player, but he won't be the missing piece that will help the Celtics lift the NBA trophy. What Boston needs is a player who can provide explosive play, who can make an immediate impact, and not just another rotation option that will occupy precious minutes without delivering what the team truly needs. Conclusion: Daniel Theis' return to the Celtics may seem like a sensible decision at first, but if we look deeper, we may realize that this move is a strategic setback. The Celtics need boldness, not another attempt to fix something that no longer works. Boston is, in a way, stuck in a past that is no longer enough to win the title. The real question is the Celtics ready to let go of old solutions and bet on something bolder, more daring, and more focused on the future? Or will they continue trying to revive pieces of a puzzle that never worked? What do you think about this? Is the Celtics making the right decision, or are we witnessing a long-term vision mistake? Let's see in the comments. Torrey Craig to the Celtics? When we talk about a potential trade involving Torrey Craig to the Boston Celtics, many may think it's a smart move, an inexpensive and efficient way to strengthen the bench. But are we looking at the trade objectively? Is Boston, in reality, giving in to the temptation of choosing a quick and easy solution instead of seeking a bolder, long-term strategy? Craig is a good player, No doubt, but is he really the piece Boston needs to take that crucial step toward an NBA title? It might seem insignificant to some, but the reality is that at 34 years old, a player's energy and explosiveness are no longer the same. Craig has had good moments in his career, no doubt. His time with the Phoenix Suns in 2021, when they reached the NBA Finals, is a highlight in his resume. However, that experience shouldn't be seen as a game changer. What happens when experience becomes an excess of tired legs? In the Celtics, already boasting a rotation with veterans like Al Horford, bringing in another older player might be a mistake. Craig may still deliver decent numbers, 6.9 points and a 43% three-point shooting, but what he doesn't bring is the energy of a younger player, which is crucial when chasing a championship. The Celtics are distancing themselves from bolder options, opting for a safe pick, but is a safe bet really what the team needs at this point? Craig, as mentioned, is playing on a rebuilding team. The Chicago Bulls, who aren't exactly title contenders, provide a context where he has more freedom to perform. That can be good for him, but are his numbers in Chicago truly indicative of his capability on a top-tier team like the Celtics? In his only appearance against Boston this year, Craig scored 11 points, a decent number, but it also reflects how he can shine on a team with less pressure. In Boston, where expectations are much higher, Craig will just be another rotational player who, theoretically, will improve the team, but will probably have limited production. Players like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will need more than a good role player to take them to the title. Craig could be a decent addition, but is he the type of player who will elevate the team's performance in critical playoff moments? The big question here is Boston just settling for a cheap solution, or are they truly committed to significantly improving the roster? Craig is available at a low price, making him an easy pick for a team that doesn't want to tie up too much of its cap. The Celtics would certainly love to add a piece with playoff experience and good three-point shooting, but the reality is that at 34, Craig is far from a long-term solution. The Celtics need a bold move, a player who not only fills the gaps, but also makes an immediate impact. Instead of continuing to bet on a 34-year-old player with mediocre production, Boston should be aiming for young talent, players who could become the franchise's backbone for years to come, not a short-term fix that only provides a modest contribution. Rather than looking for something truly disruptive, the Celtics might be settling for a trade that only serves to keep things as they are. Boston has a solid rotation with great players like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and even Malcolm Brogdon. Adding Craig might even be a way to bolster the depth, but is that enough for a team with championship aspirations? Is Boston so desperate for an easy trade that they're ignoring the clear signs that the team needs more than just another veteran? Craig may be useful in certain situations, but he won't turn Boston's rotation into an elite unit. What the Celtics need isn't another player to fill minutes. They need a player who brings something truly unique to the team, someone who offers more than just supporting numbers. To sum it up, Torrey Craig seems like an easy trade for Boston, an inexpensive player with playoff experience. However, upon closer inspection, we see that he doesn't solve the team's more urgent issues. The Celtics are settling for a safe solution, while other franchises like Milwaukee and Denver are making bold decisions aimed at the future. What Boston really needs is a piece that can integrate more dynamically and impactfully into the team. Craig may be useful to add depth, but if Boston truly wants to be a champion, they'll need more than that. So, the question remains, is the Celtics ready to make a trade that looks to the future, or will they keep looking for quick and easy solutions that won't take them where they need to be? The trade for Torrey Craig might be seen as a cheap and safe solution, but deep down, it's just another band-aid for the team's real problems. The Celtics need more than a 34-year-old who plays well on a mediocre team. They need boldness, courage, and a trade that will truly transform the team into a powerhouse. Is Boston ready to stop looking for easy solutions and start investing in what really matters, a successful future? When we talk about promising young players like Dariq Whitehead, everyone immediately looks to the future and starts imagining what he could become with the right training. The Celtics could be the team to develop this talent, some say. But if the goal is to build a competitive team for the present, we need to be realistic and look at the facts with open eyes. And the reality is simple. This is the type of move the Celtics should avoid at all costs. We're not talking about an unexplored talent or a player ready to shine. We're talking about a project that is still far from delivering what is expected, with increasing competition for a spot on the team. The Celtics already have many young pieces in their rotation. What the team needs now is stability, not more bets. Whitehead is 20 years old, yes, but he also has only 4.5 points per game in 7 minutes of action during the season. And believe me, this isn't something that should be seen as a bright light at the end of the tunnel. Let's be frank, it's an insignificant statistic for a player who was projected to be a star. The narrative that he is a project for the future almost sounds like an excuse for a player who has yet to show anything to be considered a valuable asset right now. He even asked to continue playing in the G League, as if saying, "I'm not ready for the NBA yet, but I can grow." And that's natural for many young players. But the Celtics are in a championship window, and they don't have time to waste on experiments. The team needs players who can contribute now, not in 3 or 4 years. The idea of picking Whitehead and developing him as a future piece might be tempting for some, especially when they look at young players like Sam Hauser and Jordan Walsh and imagine a rotation of young talent on the bench. But is it worth putting chips on a player who still doesn't have a clear impact? In a team like the Celtics, who have title aspirations, patience for development is running out. Why invest in a player who, by all indications, will take years to become relevant? It already makes sense to invest in the continuous improvement of the young players already on the team, like Hauser, who has shown a more solid and direct playing style. The Celtics, to be competitive, cannot afford to give valuable minutes to someone still learning the fundamentals of the game. When talking about potential, there's always the risk of illusion. Every year, there's a new name being added to the list of prospects, but few actually make the effective transition to a good NBA level. The Celtics, as far as we know, don't need another long-term player. The team needs pieces with an immediate impact. This is what they have in mind. When talking about competing for a title, let's be honest, Whitehead will not be a decisive piece in the playoffs or in the championship chase in 2024. Instead of making a move for a bright future, Boston should be aiming for a more experienced player who can contribute now, rather than waiting for Whitehead or other similar players to suddenly emerge as stars. Now, let's talk about the real impact of a trade for Whitehead. What would this mean in terms of missed opportunities? For every minute Whitehead would get, another proven, experienced player at a high level would be left aside, someone who could have a direct and immediate impact. If the Celtics are truly committed to the title, they can't afford to wait for a project to mature over the next few years. They need someone who already has playoff experience, someone capable of making quick and correct decisions, not just a good athlete still trying to figure out his role in the NBA. The Celtics already have a solid foundation, with players like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, as well as other rising talents like Marcus Smart and Robert Williams. This is a team ready to win now, not in the distant future. They have the pressure to win now, and the last thing they need is a young experiment that might, at best, average 10 points and 5 rebounds in 2 or 3 years. Boston needs to be strategic and not just chase promises, especially when a title is within reach. The Celtics should invest in pieces that can contribute immediately, not players who are far from reaching their maximum potential. In the current context, Whitehead is a risky bet that could lead to more frustration than achievement. The Celtics' championship window is open, but not for long. They have a talented young core, but they also need experience and depth to support their stars. Whitehead, although he has shown flashes of talent, is not the type of player who can make a difference in a playoff series right now. The Celtics need more mature players who are ready to contribute in pressure situations. The idea of adding a project like Whitehead might be appealing for a rebuilding team, but not for a team with the ambition to win the title in the short term. Instead of risking another unexplored,